Go with the flow.
Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Crimson Wave podcast featuring your host, Natalie Norman, Jess Beaulieu.
Hi.
And our guest today, Aisha Alfa.
I think we should explain what this podcast is about.
Okay, let's explain. It's about periods.
Yeah, feminism and periods.
Feminist periods.
We love
specifically.
Natalie and Jess love talking about our period all the time.
Yeah.
I talk about it all the time.
Yes.
And we invite guests to come and tell us about their period experiences. Men, women, and everyone
different
in
races,
between.
sexualities, ages, religions. Doesn't matter.
Everyone who has a period can come or has had an experience with a period.
That's right. Periods are an important part of everyone's life.
You guys should have a dog on at some point.
Oh my god!
That'd be great.
You know that my dogs...
Go ahead.
I have 3 dogs. 2 of them are female. My mom didn't neuter them because she felt it was bad for their soul and would ruin them. So they have their period.
Like every month?
Like, well, their dogs are different, so they have them every 6 months.
Do their periods sync up?
No.
Oh. Do you sync up with their periods?
Of course. I'm like, Pixies.
So what do you do?
They wear diapers.
Really?
It's really disgusting.
I don't think I've ever seen a dog have a period.
Because you don't take them out of the house when they have the period. You're not like, let's go parade.
But why not? Hey, we should not be ashamed of
That's
periods.
right. They can go out with a diaper.
I'm going to tell you, though, she gets very moody.
Oh.
It's
she
cute.
Gets PMS.
She gets very snappy.
Well, yeah, I'd be snappy, too.
Yeah, so...
Once every 6 months, it's got to be a bad period.
They're really bad.
Yeah. Jeez. Imagine if it just all built up for 6 months at a time. Real crimson wave, if you know what I mean.
But now that she's
Crimson thunderstorm, typhoon, crimson typhoon.
Now that she's older, we actually think she's gone into menopause, so...
Oh, no. How old is she?
She's like 15.
Oh.
So...
Okay.
She's an old lady.
There's no escaping it, though, right? Because when you get it, you're like, oh, I have my period. Then it stops. You're like, oh, I don't have my period anymore.
I don't want it to leave ever. Ever. Yeah. Ever. I love it. No, seriously. It shows how your body's working properly. So, wait. Anyways, our lovely guest today is Aisha.
Aisha Alfa.
That's me.
Aisha Alfa. Sue's an awesome comedian.
Thank you.
Stand-up comedian and an actor.
Yes.
And a writer, I guess, as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to be more of a writer.
Yeah. Cool.
I just came back from Winnipeg not long ago, where I did a show with Ben Boschman, Dave Merhej, and Garrett Jameson, and a local comedian, Chantel Marostica. That was sold out. It was such a good show.
Awesome.
And
you're from Winnipeg, originally.
From Winnipeg, yeah. So it was our coming home for the holidays. Mm-hmm. And very exciting. I was just on the Strombo panel.
You were?
Yeah, on Thursday.
I haven't shown her the questions beforehand, so it's
all new, fresh.
It's all fresh and it's exciting. And then she's going to tell us a lovely experience story. And then me and Jess are going to probe her.
Literally and figuratively.
About that story. So
we will be the speculum in this scenario. So, Aisha, how old were you when you got your period? Do you remember?
I was 13, I think. Either 12 or 13.
So that's pretty average.
That's
a good age.
I think so.
That's a good age.
No, it's a good age. It's like
it's not too old and it's not too young. Like, I was worried because I was a gymnast for the first half of my, growing up sort of thing.
Oh, cool.
So I was worried I wasn't going to get it until late because a lot of gymnasts, their puberty doesn't hit until later. Yeah. And I think I dipped out right at the right time. And then my body was like, oh my God, get this out of us, you know? But I was terrified. I know that you learn about periods in school, but it was like from Humpty Dumpty characters and they never show blood or anything.
Yeah.
And then on the commercials, it's all blue liquid. And then all of a sudden one day I just had period. And I started crying. I was like mortified and ashamed.
Where were you?
I was in my bathroom, at home.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it was just in your bathroom.
Still in my bathroom. It was probably the best way it could possibly come. And I was just so scared. And my mom had been, they give the samples that they leave on in your mailbox and stuff.
Yes.
They used to do it a lot more.
Yeah.
So she would always just tuck them into the drawer, in the bathroom.
All the samples.
So I didn't tell her for like 2 days. I just used the samples.
A pad or tampon?
Pad. Because I was like terrified. I could not put anything in.
Oh yeah.
So and finally I told her and I just started bawling and she was like, "It's okay." And I'm like, "Oh." I felt like I had done something wrong.
Yeah. This was a lot of shame.
There's a stigma, like because even though they talk about it in school, it's not welcomed with open arms. You know what I mean? No. It's kind of like shushed about. Like all of sex in school is shushed about, really.
It's ridiculous.
When it should be more open and we should be talking about it all the time.
Yeah.
And how it's such a beautiful thing.
Well, it means you can make life.
Best, ad for sex.
Yeah.
It's like sex paid you to do
that. Yeah.
I was talking about my period.
Period. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
I was thinking sex ed. I was like, sex. It is the best.
It's all good, though. Period, sex on your period. We'll get to that later.
That's
my God.
That's the only reason it's good to have a period. I don't think it's because it just.
Well, I have a good question to ask you. Hold on, guys. Sorry, I'm excited this.
Back up the truck.
We're not going to ask all the. We have a big list, but we're going to.
We got through a lot of them. I should hit them all.
A bunch of them.
Okay.
But this is a good one. Did you tell your dad, and how did he react?
I did not tell my dad when I got my period, but I remember so distinctly because my parents worked a lot, right? So my dad was away a lot, and I would often go to my mom for a lot of stuff. And my dad, I think at times when we were younger, he sort of had not jealousy, but he's like, "How come my kids don't come to me?" Oh. And he was just not there. So my mom wasn't there, but she was there more often.
Right.
But I remember once I went for a sleepover at my girlfriend's house, and I got my period, and so I called the house, and I needed to get someone to drop pads off because I was too ashamed even to ask my girlfriends.
Yeah.
So I called my dad, picks up the phone, and I was like, "Hi, Dad, can I talk to Mom?" And he's like, "Why do you need to talk to your mother?" I'm like, "I just need to talk to Mom, okay?" And he's like, "Well, why can't you just talk to me?" And then it was so, because you think about it, and this poor guy's trying to be like, "I can be there for you too," right? I was so embarrassed and I was getting mad, and I'm like, "I just don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to Mom. Can I just talk to Mom, please?" And he's like, "No, whatever you talk to your mom about, you can talk to me about." So we had this argument, and finally I'm like, "Okay, Dad, can you bring me some pads? Because I got my period." He was just like, "Oh, go get your mother." Because my dad grew up in Nigeria with all brothers, and you know what I mean? So he had never experienced anything like that. I have an older brother, so I'm like, this little, he doesn't even, I'm sure when I was a baby, he was like, "I don't know, can I, hold her? Can I touch her? Can I give her a bath?" You know? He was just
That's so funny.
So it's cute. So my dad obviously knew I got my period at that point, but we never talked about it.
How old was that still, in the first year of your period?
Yeah, that was probably when I was, 13, 14, somewhere in the first year, basically.
I honestly think my dad doesn't know I have my period.
How is that possible?
I swear, he's just so oblivious. He has, there's 4 girls in my family, but, it never, I've never spoken to him about my period. Yeah. I've never asked him to bring me pads or tampons, and nor would he. Yeah. He would for sure go and buy me, if he were to go into Shoppers, he'd buy me Depends, for sure. And he would just be so confused by all of it.
Yeah. Guys are so, and I don't blame them, because especially the older generation, people didn't even talk about periods to them, to their girlfriends.
No.
So why would some 50, 60-year-old man know anything about it or be interested in knowing anything about it,
Oh my God, my father, I cannot imagine if I ever had a conversation with him. He's the most reserved, quiet, awkward man on the planet. I barely talk to him as it is, and if I ever brought it up, oh boy.
Oh. This might relate to your story, I don't know, but have you ever leaked anything?
You don't even understand. I swear I should not have been born a female because of many reasons, but one of them is I always forget I have my period.
Oh, amen, sister!
I literally, every time I get it, every month, I have period pants at very least one time. At very least. I wash my clothes, nobody. Sometimes I have period pants 3 times in one day.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be I'll wake up in the morning. Okay, shut. But I'll wake up in the morning, I'll have a shower.
Yeah.
I'll forget I have my period, so I won't do anything, won't put anything in. Then I'll just leave the house. And I'll forget to bring anything with me. So I'll be out of the house, and all of a sudden, I'll have massive period. I'm like, "Oh, fuck, I forgot I have my period." So I'll go and buy stuff, put it in, and then go to the bathroom, take it out. How do you forget you have your period while you're sitting on the toilet?
I forget. You get distracted.
Yeah.
But you know what's really funny about that is we were at a show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We were literally at a show a week, 2 weeks ago or a week ago. And I'm walking through the show. It's in a living room, so it's very casual, and I know everyone there. And I'm holding my tampon out, being like, "I got my period, everybody." And Aisha turns to me, she's like, "Can I have one of those?" And it's true. You forgot tampons.
Totally forgot tampons. I was going to a show once. At Kitsch, I was walking there, and it was cold, and I was running, and mid-run, I full on big time crimson wave period pants all through my pants. I was like, oh fuck, I forgot I have my period. So I didn't get to the show because I had to run home. And I'm like, well, now I'm like an hour late. So
That's so funny. Home. I always forget when I get out of the shower. Do you forget that?
Yes.
Like, because you get out, there's no underwear, you're bleeding all over the bathroom. And I come in here and I'm hanging out for a while. I'm like, oh my god, period. I'm like bled all over like the towel.
Okay, so I'm going to be honest with you. It's not that I forget. It's more so that I just am that lazy. I'm like, I have to put another tampon. No. Like, I have to take a tampon to the bathroom, and then I also do this thing.
It's annoying.
I do this thing where halfway through my period, like, it'll be like 2 days, I'm like, it's pretty much done, right? It's like,
and then you're like, whatever, I'm not bleeding in this very moment.
Yeah, so like, you know, and then I'll just not wear anything, and then I'll be like, fuck, another pair of underwear goes down the toilet. Because it'll be like,
so many stains.
Guys, I'm the best at getting blood out of everything now.
Are you?
Yeah, I know how to get blood out of everything. So, what's the trick? The trick is,
this is
first
a good
of all,
tip.
you rinse it off underwater, so it gets like any of the, the blood cold water.
There we go.
You can use, you know what? I found out, you can use hot too, as long as you do it immediately. Because it just has to, you just have to put water in to get the residual blood off.
Okay.
And then you pour copious amounts of salt.
Really?
Salt on blood while it's wet. While it's wet from the water, and you leave it. And then you rinse off the salt, and if it's still on there, pour more salt on and put soda water on top of the salt. Literally, this gets out blood and wine, red wine, interestingly enough. So if you have a really crazy night where you spill wine out and you get blood on you.
Oh, please. Sometimes I don't know if it's wine or blood.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or hot sauce. I'm like, which of the three? I have no idea.
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery frequently.
I hope you don't taste it. You
lick it?
Like,
no, I don't taste it. Well, frequently when I bring, this is another problem of mine, is like men, when I bring them home to fuck, so I like bring them into my bed and my sheets are stained, but with mystery stains.
Yeah.
I don't know which one it is. Like,
I slept over like a few weeks ago. There was an ice storm, and I slept over, and she's like, "I don't give a shit. I'm just gonna let you know. I don't know what those stains are." And I'm like, girlfriend, we've all got those stains.
Big red stains, and it could be anything.
Yeah.
It's a mystery stain. It's fantastic.
That could be another whole podcast. Mystery
stain.
Guess what this is?
Yeah. That's hilarious. Okay. Okay, sex on a period. So we talked about it quickly earlier. You like it. You're pro.
I'm very much pro, 100% sex on the period. And the thing is, too, right before I get my period, I get, like, insatiably horny.
Oh.
I think everyone does.
Right? And then when I have my period, I'm just like, it's like that carry-on. Like, I'm like, I was insatiably horny. Now I'm, like, insatiably horny leftovers and lubed. Self-lube. Like, the most lube possible. And something about blood is sexy to me. I agree with you guys.
I love it.
I'm all about it. I'm like, let's have it.
You know what? I think what's sexy is a guy who doesn't give a shit if you have your period.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Have you ever had a guy go down on you when you had a tampon in?
No.
Oh my god, I've had a guy go down on me when I had my period, no tampon in, and with a tampon in.
How was it?
Oh, fuck. Do you know how fucking hot it is? Are you kidding me? One of my exes, right? And I was like, it was like a long distance thing, and he came into town. I was like, fuck, I have my period.
Yeah.
And so we were like, oh, okay, And then he knew I had my period, and then he started going down on me, and I was like, oh, I have my period. And he's like, uh-huh. And he just kept going. I'm like, but I have a tampon in. And he's like, uh-huh. And I was like, oh, fuck. I'm like, let's rent this bitch. It was the hottest fucking thing ever. It was amazing. So, well, we're not together anymore.
Oh, okay, so fuck that guy.
But it was really sexy. And, even, let's not name names, but my current,
lover.
Yeah, he's totally in tune with period time, and he's all about it. He's like, let's do it. Put a towel down, let's go.
That's hot, because what it says to you is we need to talk about that more, because it's not embarrassing in a real.
No.
And I think a guy that's fine with it understands that. And for guys to me, the biggest turnoff is obviously a guy who's like, no, I'm not touching you. That's disgusting. It's
that piece of it's disgusting. If someone just goes, you know what? I'm not into it or it doesn't turn me on, I'm like, okay, fair, right?
Yeah.
But if someone's like, that's gross, that you would even want to do that, I'm like, you're gross. How about that? How about don't ever touch me then?
How about your penis is the most disgusting thing?
Exactly. You want to wag that in my face with your hairy, like...
You want to, like, come on my chest, but you won't put your penis in a vagina.
Cum is disgusting. If I have to deal with cum on a regular basis, you have to deal with periods once a month, like, approximately.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know? Absolutely.
I'm like, this is great.
Not to say, that that's a bit rude. Penises are wonderful, just as vaginas are, but
yeah,
come on, man.
They all have their imperfections and their perfections.
The imperfections, sometimes that's what gives it character.
Exactly. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh. Do you get PMS? Let's talk about that. Do you feel, is this a myth? Do you experience it?
I don't know if it's a myth or not. I think everyone's body works differently.
Yeah.
I don't know if I get PMS as in, like, the week before, I'm always blank. You know, I think I'm always horny, but I think it's because that's when your body, like, if you're, you know, ready to have a baby, your body's like, let's do this.
Let's do this, yeah.
But I think as far as, I think sometimes I can track it back to I'll be a little bit more depressed or emotional.
Yeah.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I'm feeling that a lot.
But it's like it's not even like every single time.
Yeah.
So I think that it's, you know, I have an excess of hormones, and that can manifest its way in a lot of ways. It can mean that I'm excited and happy. It can mean that everything's like, I'm like manic, basically. I can be manic, I can be depressed, I can be bitchy, I can want to eat ice cream.
Right.
I can, you know what I mean? But it's just, I don't know if I would call that PMS or just hormones.
Right.
You know? Because I think PMS, like, the connotation is so...
Negative. Totally.
And like...
And it's used as a weapon against women frequently.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Uncoordinated.
That's what I was trying to say.
That's when I know when my period's coming, because I'm very coordinated, like hand-eye coordination. I've got really good hand-eye coordination. And then I'll like drop my phone 3 times in a day. I'm like, oh, my period's coming. Like I know.
That's so
when
funny.
That's happening. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. Is I remember once I was like, I know I'm getting my period because I went into my car and I went to start the car and I threw the car keys out onto the floor and I was like, what? How did that just? And I was like, and then I started to cry and I was like, oh, okay, I see what's.
Yeah.
I know exactly what's happening in a few days.
Yeah, it's easier sometimes to piece it together after the fact. I think though, because in the moment. It's just like anything. When you're in the moment, you don't think, oh, I'm just PMSing. Let me just calm down. You're just like, why is my life so awful right now?
You don't know.
So, yeah. But yeah, I think that, I get a surge of hormones, I think, is what happens. And it manifests in many different ways.
I like that. Yeah. I like that's a good perspective on it.
Me too. Okay, this is really specific.
Ask it towards the bike, though.
Okay, all right. Calm down. Do you have like a favorite scene from like a movie or a TV show or a book that you can think that involves a period that you remember? I don't know. This is a very specific question.
I know one. I have one.
Or even like, I remember from my childhood seeing scenes about periods and it really affecting me.
I haven't actually seen this film. It's a friend of mine. They made, in Winnipeg, they made a short film.
Okay.
And they just told me about it, and it's the best because it's one of my girlfriends who's like this stunning. She's an ex-dancer, like ballet dancer, and she's like just stunningly beautiful, and her body moves in this most graceful. Like everything about her is just perfection, right? Like she's just like she should be like an ad person for Chanel or something, right? She's just amazing. So she wrote this short film. Her name's Natalia Longley. Also an amazing dentist in Winnipeg, if anyone's looking for one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's like, literally, she's so 100%
talented.
So she wrote a short film, and the premise of it was she's at a gym, and there's this hot guy, and the whole thing is just them sort of eye flirting and like, you know, whatever. And then he looks at her, and he just like is disgusted and walks away. And then in that, it pulls out, and you notice she has her period, and it's running down her leg. So, and I'm just like, I thought that was so hilarious because the amount of like, I don't know what if it, for me, there's been times where, you know, you think, did I just get my period? And then you're sort of like, it's preoccupying your mind, so you're just like, oh my god, and you have to like walk with like your ass to the wall to get to the bathroom. And there's nothing. It's just like a bit juicier down there.
Yeah, it's a bit juicier.
Yeah. And I'm like, how many times does that happen to women though? I think when you feel sexy, and you're probably feeling sexier because your body's like wanting to make a baby, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, and then you're like, someone's looking at you weird, and you've got period pants. Like, how embarrassing.
So embarrassing.
Would that be? But at the same time, it's like that's when you kind of feel your sexiest. I don't know. It's like
I love this. I love this quote.
Yeah. So
that's when you feel your sexiest.
Yeah.
It's true though. Like you're, you know, for me, my breasts get a little rounder.
Oh yeah, your breasts enlarge. That's true.
And I'm just like la 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 la.
Yeah.
That's me being sexy. That's me.
Those are the moments in your life, though, where you're like, I am just an animal, like, who is a victim to biology. I can't, like, you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
No. Those are those moments where, like, and I don't even, I currently don't want children. That's for sure. But I, like, who knows in my future life? I probably don't really plan on it. But your body wants to make babies.
Yes.
And you can't fucking control that. And it's horrible in a way. Right?
It's horrible. Like, the face that you just made was amazing. Like, just so disgusting.
Yeah, because my uterus is like, make babies now. And my head is like, no.
It's that conflict. Like, I saw this play, this Fringe play in Winnipeg, and one of the lines was great, was about, the woman playing the role she was playing a role of a woman who was very Catholic, so no birth control, right?
Oh.
And she said her advice from her mom was, when you want it the most, don't do it. And I was like, that's so true, because when you want it the most, when your body's like, we are ready to make a baby.
Yes, so true.
That
so
also sucks, because then she would never be satisfied.
That's true. That's true.
She has to learn how to be satisfied when she doesn't want it. That sounds awful.
Right?
That sounds horrible.
That sounds horrible.
In my mouth.
Okay, are we ready?
We're ready for your story.
Oh,
do you have a title? Do you want to title your story?
The day I thought I was dying.
Oh.
Wow.
That's a good title.
Like, you can relate to it.
It's kind of funny now, but literally at the time, I was very, very terrified.
Okay.
So I was living in Edmonton at the time, and I was working north of Edmonton in this really remote place, but I had an apartment in Edmonton, and I was dating a guy in that community, but I had broken up with this long-term boyfriend like months before, just to set the scene.
Set the scene, set the mood.
So I woke up one, like, it was like a Saturday or something, and I, like, got my period, but it wasn't the time I was supposed to be getting it. And for me, I really often don't know when it's coming, so I was like, okay, no big deal, didn't think anything of it. Went, put a tampon in, and, like, literally, like, 15 minutes later, there was blood running down my leg. And I was like, wow, that's a really big first day. So I went in, changed the tampon, put another one in, put a pad on.
Wait, you put in another tampon?
No, took it out.
A new one.
Put a new one in, right?
On a pad, because it was running down. And then a pad. You thought it was going through. Yeah. Okay.
And then, like, a half an hour later, blood running down my leg. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And I went and sat on the toilet, and, like, it's, like, very vulgar, whatever, but, like...
do it, graphic.
Blood.
Oh,
like,
God.
Literally a crimson wave, like, pouring out, though.
Holy
and so I was like, shit. And then I was like, what's going on with my body? So I put in another tampon, put a pad in, and I didn't want to call 911, so I called 311. Right? And I was like, and they have that sort of like, if you're not sure if it's an emergency, call this number. So I talked to a nurse, and I was like, I explained the whole thing to her. And the most terrifying moment of my life, as far as like my health is concerned, she was on the phone, and she goes, okay. And like, I was like, just very casually telling her, and she goes, okay, listen to me very closely. You need to hang up the phone, and you need to call 911. And I was like, what? And literally, I like just started bawling. I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, you need to call 911. You're hemorrhaging. You need to call 911 right now. Promise me you're going to hang up the phone and call 911. So I was like, okay. And then I was in shock, and I couldn't call I felt like calling 911 would be like admitting I was dying. So I was like, I can't do it. So I couldn't call my boyfriend at the time because he lived an hour and a half away.
Right.
So I freaked out, and I called my ex-boyfriend.
Whoa!
He was like a 6'5" cowboy, man's man, never talked about periods, would not have sex with me on my period. You know?
Okay, well,
he was very hot, but like
that doesn't sound hot.
Eventually I convinced him anyway. But you know. So I called him in hysterics. Like, still there's blood like coming out of me, and I'm like, can you please come get me? There's blood everywhere. And he doesn't know what's going on. And this is like out of the blue. We hadn't talked in a little while. So he rushes over to my house, and he had to like come into my door, and I'm like excruciating pain and blood everywhere and bawling. And I opened the door, and he's like, what's going on? Have you been shot? And I'm like, no. And I'm just like, there's blood. And he's like, holy shit. So I'm like, take me to the hospital. So he like literally, I couldn't walk. He like carried me down the steps of the steps of my apartment. Like carried me all the way down, put me in his vehicle. He brought a towel and like put a towel down.
Aww.
And drove me. And we couldn't like he's like, where do we go? Because I was living in the North End, and we're like, where's the closest hospital? It wasn't a very familiar area. So we drove around and finally went to the University Hospital, which is a really amazing hospital in Edmonton. Very like they're on the cutting edge of everything. Mm-hmm. Take me to the emergency. Literally, I was rushed past everybody.
Wow.
Because you can bleed, like you can die, you can bleed out, right?
Yeah.
So I go in there.
That's horrible.
And like, okay, so then they're like, we need you to change into this, and I can't move. So my ex-boyfriend, while I'm bleeding, has to take my clothes off. And I was so humiliated, but like in love at the same time. I'm like, this is so like, friend love, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he takes off my clothes for me. And I'm like, the whole time I'm just like, don't look at me, don't look at my body. Like, I'm like, you've seen it, but he's like, I'm so sorry, but he's like helping me. So you get the clothes off, get the scratchy dress on, and they put me on like this cold, like ER table. Yeah. And he's like, do you want me to stay while the exam happens? And I'm like, no, get out of here! Like, leave me alone! No, it was awful. So then the guy comes on, he's like, I'm really sorry, we don't have a gynecologist on right now.
Yeah.
He's like, if you had been shot in the vagina, I'd be your guy. I'm the gunshot wound specialist. And I'm like, please don't make jokes with me right now. Please just get down there.
I've been shot in your vagina. Right? You're so, like, if only.
If only. Oh. So he goes, and it was like I just did not know what was happening. And you've got your legs up, and his head's disappearing down and doing things. And he's coming up to talk to me with his gloved hands and talking with his hands. And they are like, it's like a murder. Like, it's like a horror film. There's blood everywhere. And he's talking, he's like, I don't, just calm down. I'm like, please put your hands down. It's making me more scared. Does the exam. They gave me some meds to stop the bleeding. And then that was it. They were like, we don't know what caused this. It doesn't look like you were hemorrhaging. It doesn't look like you had a miscarriage. It doesn't look like they could not figure it out.
Yeah.
So they just sent me home. And so I had to go on estrogen, and then I had to have all these tests done where they had to put stuff in and every different test possible. And I would just randomly, for the next 6 months, I would get my period. Like, I would not have my period, and I would just, like, all of a sudden it was like an hour of crazy blood just pouring out of me, and then it would stop. And I was on estrogen for about, 6 months, and then it just disappeared. Like, literally, it just went away.
It's so weird sometimes.
Yeah, and did you ever, any clue of what it could have happened?
Never diagnosed, because they tested me for, cysts on your ovary, which is that can happen. Apparently it wasn't that. It wasn't any form of cancer. It wasn't hemorrhaging. They tested me multiple times to see if I had been pregnant, accidentally, if something had happened. Was never pregnant. It wasn't a miscarriage. And to this day, they're just like, there's nothing. They're like, we don't know, but it's gone away, so you're okay. Oh so and the thing is, now it's a funny story to me, because after all, and now my ex-boyfriend, that was probably one of the last real encounters we had. I took him out for lunch afterwards to say thank you. But that was one of the last real encounters we had. So how traumatic is it for this guy? His ex-girlfriend that he hadn't been talking to, you know what I mean? He undressed me full of blood, so it just goes to show, even if you're not talking to someone, sometimes that residual love can be there, right?
Oh my God.
So,
wow.
I have a lot of questions for you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so tell me if I'm asking too far. Do you ever, if you don't want to answer, that's fine, but do you ever worry that it's going to come back?
I never really think about it that much, because I feel bodies are such this, it's an infinity of confusion. We don't really know what's going on with our bodies and our brains and our physical bodies.
It's terrifying to think about.
Right, and as much as we've learned and we can kind of diagnose things, I'm guessing that maybe I was just going through changes hormonally, or something was changing with my body, or it could even have been stress or mental stuff, but I'm not stressed about it, I don't worry about it. If it happens again, at least I know what to do. Yeah. Go to the hospital right away, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, the only thing I worried about at the time was there's a lot of cancer in my family. Everyone in my family except for me basically has had cancer. Wow. So I was kind of worried about that, and I'm not sure if I want to I'm not sure if I will ever have kids because of just timing and age and stuff. Yeah. But I wonder if maybe there's something connected to that will make it difficult for me to have kids. I'm not sure. That's the only real thought.
Did you ever get checked out?
No, I haven't really gotten fertility and stuff checked out, because I've been no fertility, okay for me right now.
Yeah, I know. Honestly.
But, yeah.
Crazy.
So crazy.
So, it's just, it's just so unpredictable sometimes, you know? Especially with your period, because sometimes you just don't get it. A lot of women, some women don't get it for a year, 2 years.
2-3 years.
And there's no reason why. It's not because they're pregnant, it's just for whatever reason.
Yeah. Some
women get it for, 2 weeks straight, some only have it for a couple days.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really nice perspective that I think it seems that you're very in tune with your body and the way it is, because I think a lot of people would stress about it, overly stress about it. And when you stress about things, it affects your body like crazy.
That's one thing for sure. I'm like, I am not a stressed person, and I think that part of my health plan in life, you know, like eat healthy, don't do too much booze, but like not being stressed is one of the most important things you can do.
Absolutely.
And even like not even saying not being stressed, but being at ease or being self-aware so that stress doesn't creep in, because it literally is directly linked to so many things that we don't like to think about. Like, I feel like cancer can be turned on so easily by being stressed.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about that. We don't think about it. And for me, like my mom's had cancer, my dad, my brother, my aunts, everybody's had cancer.
My gosh.
And I'm just like, the last thing I need is to be stressed about every little thing. Because I'm sure at some point I'll get it. Like, I feel like if we live long enough, we're all going to get cancer. Your brain and the energy your brain sends to the rest of your body to communicate changes you physiologically. You know, and that's like a fact. So if we think that it can change us physiologically for the good, it can also do that for the bad. So you just have to keep it in mind. And I'm pretty nonchalant about my period in general.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the fact that I have period pants every time I have my period. Yeah. Like, so I just, I mean, it wasn't, there's nothing I can do. I can't prevent it from happening again because they don't know what it was. And they don't know, you know, so what can you do? I'm going to leave it.
And stress does affect periods a lot. A lot. Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to say this. Like, I'm very happy that this was you were our first, like,
so happy.
Story. Just because I was expecting, like, I know I'm all about my feelings. I feel like I'm going to cry for some reason right now. Yeah. I don't know why, but I just feel like...
cry.
Yeah, you know I have no shame crying anywhere. I don't cry anywhere. But, I was expecting, like, you know, when you invite people to tell stories about your period, you always assume that they're just going to be, I don't know if it's me, like, I just have the most ridiculous things that happen to me with my period. Like, they're always like, ha-ha, hoo-hoo. Like, it's ridiculous. No, they're so silly. They're so silly. And, like, this was, like, this is a real emotional story. Like, I can't imagine that happening to me because I would have lost my mind. And, like, you've almost come out with this, like, tranquility.
Yeah.
Which is so nice.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
And hopefully, you know, if someone listens to this and they have a similar problem, they'll learn something from it.
Yeah. Just not to stress.
Not to stress. I guess that's what they'll learn. They're not alone. They're not alone, right? Because so many things happen, you know, to your body, and you think, "Oh my God, I'm the only one who's experienced this."
And we're never alone. And there's others out there.
It's true. Whatever's happened to you, there is somebody else, at least one other person who
in the world.
Yes.
Like, you can Google it, and there will be other people.
There's probably someone who's into it. There's probably some guy who's like, tell me about your hemorrhaging
story. You know, like, endless flow of blood. I'm into that. Cool.
So thank you for being our guest.
You guys are the best. I think that this is the best idea, and I'm so pumped that I got to be your guest.
I'm so excited about this. I think it's going to be a huge hit.
I think so. I'll listen to it all the time.
Yeah. Honestly.
So, I'll remind everyone, this will be uploaded to iTunes, so subscribe. Please rate us.
Rate us, the Crimson Wave.
Rate us and share. Tumble us, blog us, tweet us. Tell everyone you know about the Crimson Wave and your period.
Yeah, important stuff.
Yeah,
I think.
It's important.
It is important.
I wish everyone would discuss periods all the time.
And I think that you guys should get shirts made because you guys, you know, let's talk about this. Let's get it out there.
Absolutely.
Just bright red shirts.
Bright red shirts.
No writing or anything. Just bright red shirts.
Just our real blood. Yeah. I will bleed onto my shirt and never wash it.
Tie-dyed bloody shirt.
Like a tie-dyed bloody shirt and wear that. Okay, so thank you to Aisha Alfa, who is our guest today. And we will be back with another episode, I guess, next week.
Oh, and check me out. AishaAlfa.com. My new website is launching this week.
Nice.
Excited. And remember to check her out on the Strombo panel.
Oh, yes, Strombo panel.
As well as you have a Facebook page.
Facebook, Twitter, and website are all Aisha Alfa. So at Aisha Alfa or AishaAlfa.com. And it's AISHAALF, like Friday.
Yeah.
A.
Oh,
I like that.
And we'll post all that information as well.
Perfect.
Thank you for tuning in.
Go with the flow.